Hello mates, I hope you're all doing well. So, it's that time of year again. It's time for my updated tattoo tour. I have done 2 of these before, but I've gotten quite a few pieces since then, so it's time to do an updated one and show you what I've got going on now. So all of these tattoos were done by 2 artists who are here in Brighton. Those artists are Aaron Fitchett, who works out of Gold Irons Tattoo Club, and Joey Salvage, who works out of Magic Tattoo. Go and check out both of those artists. They're both lovely people and great artists to boot. I'll put up on the screen who did which tattoo as I talk about each of them. So I am definitely going to forget some of these because there are some that I can't see because they're on like the back of my arm and stuff. I have got 2 crap ones like this fucking scribble that I've got going on my chest, and then I've got this like cabbage here that's on my ankle. I'm not going to talk about those ones, but I thought, as you can see, the one that's on my chest, like just poke it out, I thought I'd address it, you know. Right, let's get into it, shall we? Take this off. Oh yeah, get the muscles out. Oh god, I'm insufferable. Alright, so if we start at the top of my arm, I've got this beautiful lady head just here. This was done by Aaron Fitchett, who I would call the Lord of the lady head. If you want a lady head tattoo and you're in the Brighton or the Sussex kind of area, Aaron is your man. As you can see, it's this beautiful, lovely lady with a red rose in her hair. I absolutely love this one. It's definitely one of my favourites. I love how much black is in the tattoo, but then it's also got this very vibrant colour palette going on. It's done the makeup absolutely wonderfully. And then below the lady head, we have this panther. I love a traditional panther head. They're so badass, and I think that Aaron did a really great job of getting the panther to flow really nicely with the lady head. They look like a real pair sitting next to each other, so props to Aaron on that. He did a great job. And then if we move around to the front of my arm, I have these long coffin nails. So this is one of the last tattoos that I got on this arm when I just had this really long thin gap left, and the only thing that we could really come up with that would fill the gap nicely were these coffin nails. Joey did draw them up and he was laughing as he did so at how big they were, but again, there's nothing else that we could really kind of come up with that would fill such a long and awkward gap, and they're one of my favourite tattoos on this arm. Whenever I look in the mirror, my eyes are absolutely drawn towards these. And then just below the coffin nails, I've then got this TCB symbol that's just here. So TCB is something that Elvis used to say. It stands for taking care of business. I grew up with a grandmother who absolutely adored Elvis, and I've really come to love his music as well. Plus it's just a super rock and roll kind of tattoo, and I thought it would fit really nicely here, so I bunged it there. Next to the TCB symbol, I've then got this star. Nothing much to really say about this one. It's just a little filler tattoo, just filling an awkward little gap that I had there. I've then got this snake head just on my inner bicep. It's absolutely massive, but it's badass as all hell. We decided to keep the colour palette pretty much black and yellow with some little bit of red, a little bit of green in there. I cannot explain to you just how uncomfortable it is getting your inner bicep tattooed, especially as you get towards the armpit. I wouldn't really recommend that to anyone who fancies a good time, but it was 100% worth it for such a badass tattoo. And then just below the cobra, I've then got this butterfly, which sits just over my funny bone. Again, this is not the most pleasant place to get tattooed because you can kind of feel the needles just like grinding on your funny bone, which is not a great way to spend a Saturday night, I have to say. But again, totally worth it for a really beautiful tattoo. If we then move around to the back of my arm, let's see if I can actually remember what's there. I have this boxer and a rose just sitting on the back of my arm. Look how hard this geezer is. Don't fuck with this guy. He's got some blood on his hand wraps, and Joey putting some purple to add some bruises. Badass. And then below that, I've just got this like little like yellow flower filler. Again, just had a tiny little gap left there, and Joey drew this straight onto the skin. And although I can't see it, I absolutely love it. Then below that, we get on to the 13 that I have on my elbow here. So 13, I would say, is my lucky number. It's a number that has come up a lot in my life. Plus it freaks people out a little bit, which I'm into. I would consider myself to be a bit of an agent of chaos in that way. Then we've got all these swirly lines around it. I wasn't really 100% sure what to do on my elbow. I knew that I didn't really want to get like the spider web on the elbow that most people get. And I said to Joey, just do something with a bunch of lines, and he came up with all these kind of swirly lines, and it's just something a bit different really, and I absolutely love it. Right, and then below the 13 I then have this beautiful mermaid holding a skull. Look at her, look how pretty she is. We decided to go with black shading in the scales rather than your more kind of traditional bluey green, kind of more like fishy colours. I'd seen this somewhere else with like black shading in the scales and I thought it looked sick. I showed it to Joey and I said, can we do something like this? And he was a bit trepidatious about it, but we went with it and I think it turned out absolutely brilliantly. Again, another one of my favourite tattoos. And then just below the mermaid, then got this heart with a dagger going through it. Again, this one was just like a filler. I had an awkward little gap here and I'd seen Joey do something similar on someone else, so I asked him to draw something up to fit in this gap, and this is what we came up with. Looks badass as all hell if you ask me. And then just below that, I've then got this little axe just here. Again, just a cool little filler. I thought it would just fill the gap out nicely, and it did. All right, have I lost track of where we're at? Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is this arrow going through a flower filler that I had to have just over my ditch. I mean, I absolutely love all of my tattoos, but I do particularly love this one. I love the placement. I think it just flows really nicely with my arm. And then below that, we've then got this Sailor Joe flash piece. This is where it all started for me. I saw this piece on someone else, I think it was actually on like a clothing website. I saw one of the models had just this piece and my eyes were instantly attracted to that. And I was like, what is that? I have to find out who this artist is. And I found out it was Sailor Jerry, one of the most influential traditional tattoo artists of all time. And this is my favourite flash piece by him, so I had to get this done. Because it was seeing this piece that made me fall in love with traditional tattoos and want to get sleeves, and look at where we're at now. Okay, and then below the Jerry girl, I've got this heart on my wrist that just says true love. Just a super classic tattoo, and something that I guess I kind of believe in. I do believe in true love and all that kind of bollocks. All right, if we then move into my inner forearm, I've then got this eagle that sits just here. I mean, how can you not love a traditional eagle tattoo? And this one is particularly beautiful. This is something that I picked just off of Joey's flash. I really wanted to get an eagle and Joey happened to have one that would fill the gap that I had here perfectly, so this is what we went with. And then below the eagle, I've then got this Gretsch guitar that's just here. So guitar and music is a huge passion of mine in life, and I actually have a Gretsch guitar just here that my father bought me. It's in tune as well, look at that. And yeah, I got this tattoo to kind of pay tribute to my love of music. I'm a producer, I'm a guitar player, and this makes me think of my dad as well. So, you know, it's lots of nice things rolled into one. All right, and then lastly, I think it's lastly on this arm. Watch me edit this and realise how many I've forgotten. Nope, I think we're good. All right, so lastly on this arm, I have this Bible dripping blood just on my wrist. So I've talked about this one in loads of other videos, but the long and the short of it is, I grew up Christian. I'm not Christian anymore. This is just kind of paying tribute to that part of my life, I guess. All right, on to my left arm. All right, so my left arm is not quite finished. I would say my right arm pretty much is, but my left arm, I've got a few little kind of awkward gaps left, but the majority of my arm is done. Having said that, when I'm filming this, I got 4 or 5 of these tattoos only about 5 or 6 weeks ago, so they haven't settled into my arm completely. You can probably tell which ones those are. So just keep that in mind. Over the next kind of 6 months or so, they will fade. They will settle into the skin more and they will blend with my other tattoos more. All right, so if we start at the top of my arm, I've got this spider web that caps off my shoulder. Then got this scythe just in front of it that's dripping blood. I mean, this doesn't have any particular meaning or anything. It's just cool as fuck. And I'm gonna get a spider web or something similar on the top of this arm so they kind of match. Will help cap this arm off as well. All right, and then if we move down below the spider web, I've got this pin-up girl. Again, I've talked about this one in a whole bunch of my other videos, but originally this tattoo looked much worse. I got it done by a scratcher or someone who is not a trained tattoo artist, and I walked around with it looking in an absolute state for about 1.5 years until when I moved to Brighton, I got Aaron Fitchett, who's done a few of my other tattoos to rework it for me and to fix it up. And this is what we are left with. It's not my favourite tattoo in the world, but I think it could definitely look worse. It looks 100 times better than it originally did before Aaron fixed it up. And we've lived and we've learned. Alright, in front of the pin-up girl, I've then got this anchor just here on the front of my bicep. A reminder to stay grounded and that kind of sentimental shit. But also just like a super classic, like, sailor kind of tattoo. I really love old school, like traditional flash from like the 1940s. This is absolutely something that would fit in at that kind of time. And then below my anchor, I have this heart just on my bicep that says mum. Funny enough, I absolutely love my mum and I wanted to get something for her. And this is what we ended up with, an absolute classic design, an absolute classic traditional tattoo. All right, where shall I go next? All right, next to the mum heart, I've then got another star similar to the one I have in a very similar place on the other side. Again, just a cool little filler for a little tiny gap that I had here. All right, I have this massive fuck off gramophone that fills up my inner bicep. Again, I'm a musician, a music producer. This kind of pays tribute to that part of my life, that part of my personality. And it's got these beautiful roses that are a part of the design. This one is particularly sick, I love this one. All right, and then just below the gramophone and the roses, we have these 3 flowers that all kind of connect up. Got like a white flower, a red flower, a yellow flower. No kind of meaning behind them, I just had a long awkward gap and Joey just drew these straight onto my skin. I think they look absolutely sick. All right, and then back to the front of my arm, I have this little love letter with some leaves coming out of it just off the front of my arm. It doesn't hold any particular meaning or anything, it's just one that you see on like a lot of old school flash sheets. And I wanted to get it somewhere on my body and I happen to have a gap here that it just fit quite nicely into. All right, let's go to the back of my bicep, I suppose. So I have this massive fuck off Sailor Jerry crawling panther just on the back of my arm. Another one of my favourite Sailor Jerry designs, and something that I really wanted on my arms where it would kind of be on show even if it's in a place where I can't see it. Alright, and then below the panther, I've then got these 2 shaking hands. Again, just another old school classic traditional tattoo that you see a lot on old school flash sheets. Happen to fit in the gap really nicely that I have back here. Alright, then onto my elbow, which I've said this about a few of my tattoos, but this again is one of my absolute favourites. I have this badass black rose. Look how cool this shit is. Don't fuck with me, I'm hard as fuck. That was British sarcasm, by the way, if you can't tell. But I absolutely love this one. I really wanted a black rose somewhere on my body, and I was originally thinking we'd do a red rose on the elbow, but have so many flowers in this kind of area, especially red flowers, so just on a whim decided to go with black rose instead, and I'm so glad that we did because it's cool as all fucking hell. Alright, let's move further down my arm. Let's go onto the front of my forearm. So I've just got this broken arrow that sits just here, just off my ditch. Again, no particular meaning or anything, just happened to fit in the gap that I had here really nicely. Then next to the broken arrow, got a swallow here. Another really cool old school sailor tattoo. I grew up with my next door neighbour having swallows tattooed on his hand. He's actually probably the first person that I would have seen with tattoos. So of course I had to get a traditional swallow on my arm. This is one of the first tattoos that I did get. And then below the swallow, have this geezer here. Yeah, I have this greaser like a flip comb. I absolutely love greasers and like 1950s kind of inspired fashion, so got this guy on me. And if we move on to like my outer forearm, got this black and yellow cross here. Got this one for the same reason. I got the Bible on my other arm. Right, what else have we got going on here? What can't I see? All right, and then I've just got this cool like cutthroat razor which flows really nicely with the greaser and the flip comb. No particular meaning, just had an awkward like banana shaped gap. Joey said that the straight razor would fill that really nicely. So straight razor we did. Right, and then I think we're on to the last 2 now. So on the front of my forearm, I've got this clipper shit tattoo with the banner just below it that says Homeward Bound. Another old school sailor tattoo. Need I say more than that? Right, and then I think this is the last one, unless there's something I can't see. Lastly, I've got this eagle sitting on top of a skull. It sits just on my wrist. This is another piece that I picked off of one of Joey's flash sheets. I wanted this one for probably about a year before I got it, and I just kept coming back to the sheet and going, that's cool as fuck, I need that somewhere on my body. And eventually I settled on getting it on my wrist, And it fits there like an absolute glove. Another one that's badass as all hell. Right, so those are all of my current tattoos. As always, I'm always planning more. I need to fill out the last few gaps that I have on my left sleeve before I then move on to my chest and eventually onto my legs. I hope you guys found this entertaining and you were able to like follow along with all my nonsense. If you did enjoy this video, give it a like and hit the subscribe button and all of that other YouTube bollocks. If you like the music that you're hearing in the background, well, it was actually all produced by me. I have another channel where I post beats / instrumentals that I've written for singers to use to write songs to. So if that is something that you are interested in, I'll put a link in the description. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.